Oh my God, no. Oh my God, no.
Yeah.
No. Did you hear the best part though? He said he's not the only penis man.
Florida man arrested for pulling gun on escort. She was touching everything in my house but my dick.
Hi, welcome to this week's episode of Slightly Informed. We are a podcast dedicated to news, politics, and everything else terrible in our culture. I am here bringing you the episode. My name is Nick, here with the regulars, John and McLean. And, unfortunately, it's the same three hosts again. Sorry to disappoint, folks.
Actually, we'll have a guest star.
Yeah, no worries. We'll bring you some variety.
We're shooting to make the first one Tom Hanks, and it's been a little more difficult than we planned.
The red tape is unbelievable.
You can't just text a guy like that? That's ridiculous.
He's a little bummed out about his latest, that movie he made.
Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood?
I'm thinking wrong guy.
Well, this week we have we have a bit of a different episode for you. We are bringing you our first movie review, culture review here. We have a movie to talk about, as well as just a general leading on pop culture. We're going to have our second endowment of the Slightly Improvised.
I think we should just be honest with the people, too, that this is a filler episode. We're pre-recording for a week. We don't record the show, so...
For posterity, this was recorded on March 1st. You will be listening to this probably sometime at the end of March.
Yeah, or at some point we just didn't want to record a show that week.
So we decided to upload this one.
You know, but though we're putting this in the Disney vault, and a lot of times you don't get to see what's in the Disney vault.
We're more generous than that.
Yeah, so this will come out of the vault at some point.
So yeah, we've got a movie review. We've got another installment of Slightly... wow, I lost it again. Slightly...
Take a guess, Nick. I'm going to let you die on this hill.
My brain is...
Let's let Nick die on this hill. Take a guess. What's it called?
Slightly Improvised.
There you go.
I made it. My brain was missing the gears a couple times there. You can smell the like burning engine sound there.
There isn't rubber in an engine, John.
You haven't driven my Tesla, guy.
Your Tesla?
Clearly, you don't know shit about modern engines.
Yeah, my Tesla lawnmower actually starts to smell like burnt rubber pretty quickly.
True.
But yeah, after we do our movie review, we have a few stories like always, as well as a second installment of our game. But first, I've got something to read to you folks. Just a bit of non-political news. We're gonna stay out of the politics this episode. Nothing but fun and good vibes here. So with these good vibes, I'm gonna read this story. Woman with bullet in her head given Band-Aid released from hospital.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Where was this at?
This was in Japan.
That fucking sucks, bud.
Oh, wait, no, there was a similar story that led me to this one. I guess this one was in America. Not surprised.
I was just going to say, that sounds like American healthcare.
No.
Please tell me this was in Florida.
This was in Florida.
Oh, shit!
A Miami woman counted herself lucky after doctors told her she had suffered a graze wound in a shooting. Only later she discovered that she had been walking around with a bullet lodged in her head. Shakina Jefferson, 42, and her wife, Jeanette Medley, were heading to the grocery store with bullets when bullets started to fly outside their home. Suffering a head wound, Jefferson was taken to the hospital. She claims the doctor applied some Band-Aids and sent her home with antibiotics.
Guys, this is something that scares me about the medical field. It's just like you could go to 3 different doctors and get 3 different answers to the same problem. Like, I'm kind of hopeful for the day and AI is like, this is the answer. I'm right. I've looked at 8 billion cases.
There is a bullet in your head.
Yeah.
Surgery.
I was going to say, like, I've heard of this a lot with, like, oh, you have stage 1, cancer, or you have a non-malignant tumor, or you don't have anything.
Exactly.
And, like, that's only...
bad gas.
But whether or not you have a piece of metal shrapnel in your fucking skull, like...
You'd think they would do like an X-ray? Like,
just one bone density scan.
Yeah.
Just one X-ray. Like, yeah.
But that is wild to me about the medical field is like every doctor thinks they're a really good doctor. And someone's got to be the bad doctor.
There's not 100%.
Statistically, they're not all in the top 10%.
Yeah, there has to be someone.
Yeah.
Dr. Nick from The
exactly.
Simpsons.
Yeah. Or like that old joke where it's like, what do you call a doctor who graduated at the bottom of his class? doctor. You know.
But I think that's it for our little brief intro segment there. We are going to dive into our review. Hey, John.
Yes.
What was the name of the movie you brought to us this week?
I think it was called The Art of Self-Defense, starring that guy
Jesse
who also
Eisenberg.
plays...
Michael Cera.
Yeah.
Michael Cera's second stage of his Pokemon evolution.
Yeah.
I think it's Michael Cera, Jesse Eisenberg, Andy Samberg.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think I've seen that one before. But yeah, it was a really good movie. The movie achieved what I think Fight Club was trying to do, which is like show like the absolute insane side of like masculine culture. But Fight Club came out and it was like, yeah, fuck yeah, I'll be Tyler Durden. That's fucking dope as hell, dog. Yeah, so
Everyone
it
knows
wasn't
the
quite
guy
ridiculous
who misread
enough.
that.
Yeah. It wasn't quite ridiculous enough. But this movie punched a little further than that. So, okay, and I think
some might say maybe even with one finger.
or punched with your foot.
Yeah. Kick with your hands.
Yeah. I think
with a
before we go
fist.
any further, we have to say spoiler warning. I think this
Yes,
movie came
this
out
will
like
be in
6 years ago, but
We'll put this in the description. Spoiler
You should
alert.
definitely watch it, though.
yeah, so it's called An Art of Self-Defense. We watched it on Hulu like a week ago. And if you want to watch the movie before we talk about it, feel free.
Pause here.
Yeah.
Skip to a point I'll probably put in the description with a time where we'll stop talking about the movie.
29 minutes, 30 seconds.
27
Oh, that's a good
minutes,
guess.
15
Boom.
seconds.
I'm going to say 28:45.
All right,
so
so-
we've got a range. We'll see who wins.
Yeah.
But
0.
4 minutes.
So this movie, it starts you out in a bit of a dark place. It shows Jesse Eisenberg alone.
Michael Cera.
Michael Eisenberg alone. And he is...
He is a lone beta cuck
yes.
with
Just
a small
the
dog.
the most beta energy you can possibly imagine they've crammed into this person.
Sweet little, like, what is it? What kind of dog was that?
It's a dachshund.
Dachshund.
It's a
Yeah.
German dog. He's into
Oh, great.
Germany.
German Shepherd.
Yeah.
No, Dachshund, actually.
Yeah.
So yeah, basically the storyline behind this is that Jesse Eisenberg's character is weak and not in control of his life. He's studying French, and here's a French couple in the intro clip basically just destroying him, like
Making
trying to
fun of
create,
him,
making
yeah.
fun of him, making like a fake life story that's just like blowing him out, like just
Yeah.
destroying his entire existence. He goes home. It's dark out. He's afraid to walk to the store to get food for his dog. Like, as much of a cuck energy as you can get,
Yeah.
and just kind of like...
They overplay it for like the bid. Yeah,
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
it works out
exactly,
really
like-
well because he starts off this way. He goes to the store and he gets mugged on his way home,
Mm-hmm.
and then he becomes even more scared of the world, which like would happen to a character like this. Of,
Yeah,
like,
you're
they're
in-
already scared of the world. They already feel like they don't have power, and then they get shown they really don't have power,
Mm-hmm.
and things can be done to them without their permission.
Yeah, and he basically was just walking and he hears some people on a motorcycle come up and ask, "Hey, do you have a gun?"
Yeah.
And he said, "What?" And they just drive off.
Yeah.
That means no. And then, just showed up and beat the absolute shit out of him.
Yeah.
Beat him good.
And he...
I also love like, the next part of this movie. He does go to try to buy a gun, and they go into like some real statistics about gun ownership.
Yeah,
where
the
they're
guy's
like,
like,
"Hey,
just so
just
you
so you know, yeah,
You're 600% more likely to die of a gun but now that you own one.
yeah, exactly. Just so you know, like it's way more likely that an attacker takes your gun and kills you than you successfully kill an attacker. Like it's like the chance of suicide now that you own a gun is up like 70%, just as a heads up. So it's like the gun shop owner telling him all this stuff, but then also trying to encourage him to buy a gun. It's like the weird, like it's a weird conference, like bringing together of the culture of like the masculine gun energy of like fuck yeah, gun.
yeah.
You could defend yourself, you could kill people, but also looking at like
on with a gun.
yeah, but then also looking at the statistics. I forgot. Doesn't he bring up like knives too somehow? Where he's like,
I think it was the second time he came back.
oh, the second time you called him, yeah,
Yeah, or when he went, when he showed up for the. Oh no, yeah, it was a call. It was a phone call. Yeah, he called him and was like, "Hey, I actually don't think I'll be needing that gun." And he's saying, "Really? I hope you didn't buy a knife."
Yeah.
9 times out of 10, a knife will get you killed when going up against a gun.
Yeah, exactly.
And he's like, "No, I didn't buy a knife." And he's like, "Well, in the meantime, between now and then, I hope you don't get attacked by someone with a gun
yeah,
or even a knife." But yeah, like,
so he gets put on the. So he wants to buy this gun, walk out with it immediately. He asks for like a shopping bag for his gun, so he doesn't have to just like carry a gun outside. And the guy like kills his vibe and says there's a 3-day waiting period. And in that 3 days, he walks past a karate studio,
dun, dun, dun.
And that's where he goes to learn the art of self-defense. Yeah,
sick moves, and discipline.
Yeah, I think one of my favorite bits of the movie was the karate instructors talking about like the guy who founded their order and like their sensei or whatever, and he was like, yeah, he was killed tragically in a hiking accident
with a gun.
Yeah, by a hunter trying to like misidentifying him as a turkey or something. So
guns are messy.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know, man.
It's a wild movie.
So when I watched it by myself first, and then I had to show it to these guys because it was such a great movie. So the next time we were all together, we watched it. But they didn't seem interested in the first like 20 minutes because it starts on such a slow build that you're like, what the fuck is this movie even about? What's going on? And then it progressively becomes like almost like a psychological thriller where like the sensei of their gym has more and more influence and control in his life. And Jesse Eisenberg is essentially
Michael Cera.
Yeah.
Jesse
Cera is becoming like the karate guy who has that energy of like, yeah, I can fuck anyone up. Like karate's my existence, man. Karate's my personality. Like this is my shit.
So in this movie, after he's joined this class, he's just started, and his like energy and his anger that he's kind of finally found a way to channel and bring out some masculinity in him is like catching the eye of this instructor. Now, this instructor, from like scene one that you see him, this is an absolutely insane person.
He's a creeper.
He's insane.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Like he talks about his what his plans for the next day by doing karate moves with each word, as if that's like some kind of
like when you're a baby, you couldn't learn to speak. And now you're learning karate like you were a baby, and you can eventually speak with your moves.
Ask me a question.
Yeah. He was like, "What are your plans for this weekend?"
I will be going to the Blockbuster to rent a movie and watch in my home. And basically the entire time he's just throwing random karate moves in there.
Yeah.
And you get this vibe from the first scene where he's actually taking the class.
No, the first scene was with the chick who's it's like the karate class for kids.
Yeah.
And she's demonstrating a chokehold on a kid, and you think like, oh, she's gonna show how to choke someone, right? But she puts the kid in a chokehold and chokes him like to sleep.
Tap or nap.
Yeah.
While this is happening, the parents are just sitting on a back wall,
Like it's
just natural.
Like,
Yeah.
oh, little
Tuned
Johnny
out.
just got fucked
That's
up.
I think the first scene of the movie where you realize like this is going somewhere. When she just fucking chokes a kid to sleep, then you're like, huh, a normal movie around karate would not have a scene like that. Oh,
Didn't
man.
see that shit in the Karate Kid.
Yeah.
Now this movie starts ramping up after this. You start seeing more and more classes. He's getting better at it. He's feeling some confidence.
Moving up in the belts.
He gets his yellow belt, which is the first belt after white, and he runs into this person who opens his car door into his car and just leaves it dead and just walks past him, and he tries to like stand up for himself for the first time in his life and try and stop him, and he says something. He gets scared. He says, "I know karate."
Yeah.
He like makes him flinch.
Yeah.
He drops all of his groceries. He's like,
hits
"Your
it out of
arms
his
are
hands.
full.
Yeah.
I would hit you 3 times before you could even drop him and get your hands up to block me."
And that's when he cries all his way home.
Yeah, he cries in the car.
He realizes that like he thought he was badass.
Badass,
and he's just not at all.
He's like, "I'm a yellow belt."
Yeah.
And what gets even better after that is the direction that they go with him starting to like
Listen to different music.
But
well,
that's
okay,
what
so they also foreshadow day class and night class, where like it's like literally the basic trope of like the daytime is like happy and healthy and safe, and nighttime's like scary and dark and bad things happen.
Yep.
So they start to foreshadow like there is a night class for karate, but you probably shouldn't take it.
His
you're
little
not
friend
ready.
there. He's like,
Yeah,
actually,
it's like
you seem
only
more
the
like a
best.
day class kind of person.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Also, that's one of the most brutal moments is the character who tells him that it's a day.
So when she chokes the kid out, you kind of see it turn as like, oh, this
is
isn't
not
what I
just a karate
expected.
movie.
Yeah, this isn't what I expected. Things are going to get weird. His first time at night class, there's a person attending who was not invited to the night class.
The person who told him like, hey, you should.
It's his kind of buddy.
Yeah, it's his first friend.
Kind of nice to
he
him.
kind of told him like, hey, there's a lot of testosterone around here. People are kind of crazy. I heard I'm gonna get this upgrade today or whatever.
Yeah.
But he shows up because he saw him come to night class, and he's like, a real friend would tell me. He wouldn't tell me he's a day class guy and come to night class. Yeah. And then the instructor tells him to come up in front to use him for a demonstration, where he blows the fuck out of this guy's elbow. Just holds his arm and just like punches the shit out of his elbow, just busting his bone out the
opposite
front,
way, bending the bone out the front. Yeah.
And he says, "I can never take that blue belt away from you. You've earned it. So instead, I've taken your arm."
Yeah, and then like never come back.
Yeah, I just never see the guy again.
One thing we've skipped over, and it was the best part of the movie that plays a really big role in the end, is the instructor was teaching one of his, it was probably the third class. He was teaching that you need to kick with your fists.
And punch with your hands.
Punch with your feet.
Punch with your feet.
Now, I'm kind of worried. I think this is becoming more of like a Spark Notes version of the whole movie. So let's transition, because I also think we kind of showed you how this movie ramps up, and I think if you're interested in the movie, you should watch it, because we really, even if like we've had some spoilers, we haven't spoiled like the big things, which is like this movie takes fucking wild twists and turns towards the end. I honestly, the first time I was watching it was like late at night, and it felt kind of like a psychological thriller to me, which like it starts as like a weird, awkward like indie film drama, and then transitions to like, and somehow walks the line between like drama, comedy, and psychological thriller, like as it gets towards the end. And it was like a really weird thing for a film to take. So I mean, in general, like I think just more of like a review, like how did you guys feel about the movie? Like I know it was rough at the beginning, but
like I mean, we're all sitting here, there's probably 8 people watching this movie, and
I think there's a vibe in the room of why is John making us watch this dumbass movie.
it was kind of like John was super pumped about this. Let's sit down and watch it.
Yeah,
and it just got one twist, and then it's like, all right, fuck, are we going this way? And then it's like, nope, this way.
Yeah.
And it was just kept taking us all these different roads, and then the last 30 minutes were just all uphill. Like it was fucking wild.
Yeah.
It takes you up, a super crazy roller coaster. And
I was joking with the guys that
a couple scenes just drop you.
It's a 2-hour movie that builds to 2 insane punchlines. Everything else is like fun and worth it, but like the whole first half is building to one punchline, and then the second half builds to the second punchline, and that's like the whole course of the movie, and it's
you
worth it and awesome.
I'm gonna give one last kind of note on this too. So like towards the beginning when he's when the sensei is describing the sensei before him who started the dojo. And describing a few things he did. He describes that the sensei had created the rainbow belt and awarded it to himself after defeating all other senseis in the valley in hand-to-hand combat, is what they say.
I think,
but
don't spoil anything.
Every
You're
time
getting close. You're getting close.
We put it's spoiler.
I know, but I still think like you could listen to this part and still think the movie's worth it
and watch it
and watch the big payoffs.
All right.
Because I don't want to force that. Like you guys know when watching the movie, you were like, "What the fuck was that?" Because it doesn't even like really build to a moment. It just happens, and then you have to think like. I almost wanted to rewind it the first time I watched it. Of like, was there something I just didn't see coming? Like I had no clue that's where I like had a vague, rough idea, but I had no clue that was gonna build to that. So I don't know, man. I honestly thought it was one of the best movies I've seen recently. Like that and like Uncut Gems were 2 movies where I was just like, no, fuck, so this is wild. Yeah. Like,
well, and I think what you said at the beginning is perfect. It encapsulated in a more distilled form what Fight Club was trying to say.
Yeah.
That pure masculinity is not the answer to these things, even though it feels good.
It's fun.
It feels good for Jesse Eisenberg to become that guy and start commanding people and to get, a tough guy. I mean,
we all vaguely know people who are like, man, you haven't known shit until you tried Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, bro.
Yeah.
That shit's wild and insane. And, like, that's what this movie's trying to represent is, like, those people. And then the rest of society is like, I don't know.
It was definitely worth it. So
No, good watch. Really ramps up. Worth the first hour of the movie being a slow build because the payoff is so worth it.
You have to slow build to something like that.
It's so good.
Yeah.
So yeah, shout out to that. We
speaking of shout outs,
let's transition it then. We're going into shout outs.
All right. I'll start this off.
Okay.
The article itself isn't something you really want to jump too much into. It's a drug bust, you know. I mean, someone got pulled over or whatever, and they had weed in their bra. All right. Well, you know, that kind of stuff happens, you know.
Kind of stuff happens.
The headline is what makes this so great. Marijuana in bra leads to bigger bust. You get it? Bra, bust.
Because it's a bigger bust.
Yeah, so that was pretty funny. We saw that.
Oh, that's good.
That's definitely got to be mentioned. So
I really hope that was intentional.
It probably was.
It had to be.
Probably was.
It definitely was. So, all right. Who wants to hit the next shout out?
Nick should go.
I can go next. This shout out is for Garth Brooks fans everywhere.
Oh, God.
There's a lot of them.
Garth Brooks, this last week, or however long ago, was seen on stage in Detroit playing in the Lions Stadium wearing a jersey that says Sanders on it, with the number 20. Sanders.
Sanders
Where have
2020,
where have I heard that name before? Sanders. Colonel. We got Bernie Sanders. We got Barry. So he was wearing a Barry Sanders jersey. So yes, he was wearing a Barry Sanders jersey. And
wasn't it in Detroit?
In
or
Detroit,
where he played for the Lions.
In the Lions Stadium, wearing a Lions jersey. Like, people really thought that he custom made a Lions jersey to say Sanders 2020.
It's just emblematic of the culture we live in, where it's way easier to just jump to anger as fast as humanly possible than think about something for 15 seconds.
Yeah. No, it's absolutely absurd. I wish he was wearing a Bernie Sanders jersey instead of Barry, but you know what?
But at least 50% of the people who got angry are never gonna know it was a Barry Sanders jersey.
They're just gonna die thinking that
exactly.
is a real thing.
Fucking liberals affected my country music.
They got Garth.
Yeah.
Who's next?
Oh man. Okay, I'll take the shout out. My shout out goes to Washington State.
Washington.
You guys know how I hate Nestle?
Yes.
This is a well-known fact in our group.
Yes.
Hate Nestle.
Yeah, I hate Nestle. They're one of the worst companies. And one of the reasons they're one of the worst is they go into states and territories and countries and essentially just bottle up their publicly owned water supplies and then sell it back to those people, which is an insane business model. Just to be like, hey, you know that water you guys had? We took it. You want to buy it back?
From us? Yeah.
Yeah, so Washington State, they had a new law that's banning essentially companies from coming in and bottling their water supply, essentially. And they said that any use of the water for commercial production of bottled water is deemed to be detrimental to the public welfare and public interest. So, yeah, right? I just wanted to, shout out Washington State for being one of the first people to, balls up and say, it's weird you can take our water and just try to sell it back to us. That's a little strange to me. Yeah.
On this same thread, Coca-Cola was recently caught up in something in Australia where I think it's Queensland, the Queensland province,
the same thing?
where they were doing the same thing, where they had every bit of water in their entire water table pretty much was owned by the Coca-Cola Corporation, where they extracted it during a drought, extracted the water,
they did the same thing to
held
California.
it hostage, and sold it back to companies.
I think it might have been Nestle, but they did the same thing to California when they were having their insane drought 4 years ago.
That's just absurd.
Was they already have a drought, but they were still giving private companies access just to straight bootleg that shit and steal it from the people.
Yep.
It's fucking insane.
It's absurd, dude.
Now, back in the day, this isn't something I verified because this was way before my time, but my mom has told me that water used to just be free, it was a public utility, your house was connected to the water and they just gave it to you. And so one of my uncles was offered a chance to be an early investor in bottled water, and he was an investor and he built businesses and he had this opportunity to invest in bottled water, and he told the guy straight up Fuck off, dude. No one's ever going to pay for water. That's that's insane. You have that shit coming out your tap. You're telling me you're going to bottle it and sell it to them and they're just going to eat that shit up? That's ridiculous. That's like the history of how like water has changed, where like in my grandpa's generation, it was just a thing that was provided to you. And now they're like, yeah, we'll take it from you where you would have had it for free, and then we'll just sell it back to you. Great business model.
Fuck, dude.
Yeah.
The extraction of natural resources has gotten
just to sell it back to people.
Yeah.
And I vaguely understand somewhat selling like things you mined or stuff like that because you like actually put effort into it. But just like collect things from a river and put it in a bottle and be like, hey, here's a thing. Like,
look what we did.
Yeah, right. When we could just like redirect it to your taps and make sure it's clean. Yeah, it's fucking insane. Yep. So that's my shout out. Washington State, way to step up.
Dude, that's
hopefully
that
states,
is a baller move. That is big dick energy right there.
Yeah, super big dick energy. Hopefully other states follow in their path because that's awesome.
Get fucked, Nestle.
Yeah, get fucked, Nestle.
Fuck you.
Anyone from Nestle wants to come and fight us, do it.
Right, let's go.
Send your biggest employee.
Right, let's do it. Second half.
Cool.
Who's starting us off?
I'll start us off.
Woo. All right.
I saw an article. I don't really know when they did this, but I thought it was fucking badass. Scientists have successfully cured diabetes in mice for the first time, which gives hope to millions of people worldwide.
Cured?
No, they have cured diabetes in mice.
That's insane.
And obviously mice are a little different than humans, but it's
the basis of that is pretty much the same. Yeah.
So, I mean, so far, this disease is thought to affect over 400 million people worldwide.
Diabetes.
And has, it's been thought to be diabetes incurable. But researchers at the Washington University School of Science in St. Louis have proved that it is possible to cure diabetes in mice, and it only took them a couple weeks. The research way longer, but it took a couple weeks to cure them. So
that's insane.
Yeah, so I'll read a quick quote. These mice have had very severe diabetes with blood sugar readings more than 500 milligrams, and it would be fatal for a person. And they cured them within a couple weeks. Within 2 weeks, their blood glucose levels had returned to normal and stayed that way for many months.
Wow.
So pretty awesome.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
That's a crazy breakthrough.
Yeah.
We're reaching I think we're probably 15 or 20 years away from any of these things
coming
to completion.
Look at, yeah.
But Cuba is right at the edge of a major. I mean, they've already made the biggest breakthrough we've ever had in AIDS research. Yeah. And probably the biggest we've made in cancer research as well.
I just think it's every month you hear an article like this, and it's good advancement, but I think a lot of times newspapers oversell it because it's good for views. Yeah. But it's still a breakthrough, and eventually it will hit people. It's just the timeline won't be next week we're curing it in human beings. It'll be 10, 15 years from now.
Yeah. Oh.
But that's still super cool.
Cool. Well, I think we should throw this over to John.
Yeah. Game time.
Depending on when you guys hear this may be a very popular segment, or it may have died. Yeah, but basically, John has created a 5-gallon bucket full of random topics.
It's not full,
but okay, it's got
a couple hundred.
Hundreds of topics.
Yeah. All the presidents, 100 most influential women who have lived and
who have died.
Yeah, and a bunch of different topics. So we're going to throw this one over to John. John has 10 minutes. He has to fill the entire 10 minutes. He drew the card. He had 5 minutes to research, and the rest is John. He has to talk for 10 minutes. We're going to start a topic. I'm not going to start it yet, but if you want to introduce which one.
Yeah, so I drew 2 cards. The rule is draw 2 cards. You can pick between the cards, or you draw a third and final card, and you have to do it. So I picked Theory of Relativity and Trojan Wars. And yeah, I picked Theory of Relativity. So hit me on that timer, McLean.
You ready?
Yeah, I'm an expert in this topic now.
Good.
All right,
you
5-minute expert.
I'm ready. Okay, let's go.
10 minutes, go.
Okay, guys. Albert Einstein, right?
Speaking relatively.
Yeah, speaking relatively, Albert Einstein. So have you guys ever noticed when you're talking to, what did he say? When you're talking to a cute girl, time seems to slow down. Or what was
it? Time dilation.
Yeah, okay. I think it's time dilation. So when you're talking to like an attractive female and time just seems to go super fast, and you're like, that was a 10-minute conversation. That was wild. That felt like a second. And then when you touch like a really hot pan and your hand's on fire and you're like, fuck, that lasted like 15 minutes, even though it was like the hot fire was like
30
5
seconds. Maybe,
yeah, and then
Was it super hot fire?
yeah, super hot fire.
Super hot fire.
So that's essentially what the theory of relativity is.
It's super hot fire.
It's super hot fire. Okay, so there's a thing called space and a thing called time.
Okay.
And for a lot of time, people thought those were different things.
Oh.
Like
wait.
space made up the material world and everything around us, and time was just a measurement of
Operating
that
on its own.
exactly.
Separately. Okay.
Separately. The breakthrough of the theory of relativity was that space and time are connected in space-time.
Okay.
So space and time are a thing. The other thing I wrote down here is that light is fast.
Is it?
How fast?
How fast is it?
Thanks for asking that, Nick. Light travels at 186,000 miles per second. And it's a constant fixed speed, which is important because everything else can be judged relatively to the speed of light. Okay.
This is all relative.
It's all relative. No, there was a point that they made that there's no absolute frame of reference. So by looking at something and by judging it, you are setting the frame of reference. There's no outside frame of reference to judge anything
So
by.
it's always subjective to you.
Always subjective to whatever it's related to, whatever it's relative to. Like cars are fast relative to bunnies. Bunnies are relative fast to snails. You know,
Wow, this guy
it's always
sounds
compared to
pretty smart.
something. Yeah, I'm basically an astrophysicist at this point, guys. Come on. Okay. So the theory of relativity was essentially a combination of two theories of relativity. Special relativity, which had to do with things in the physical world, things with mass, things with weight, things like that, and general relativity, which had to do with the laws of gravity.
Okay.
So the thing I've been told is that when you're next to a really massive object, and the theory of relativity helps explain things like the black holes we experience, and like magnetism,
Just
and
like
stuff.
everyday black holes.
Yeah. I mean, the black holes that we can look at through the Hubble. and
Now,
things.
exactly in what way does this explain?
Because near the event horizon of a black hole, time actually slows down.
Oh.
So because a black hole is so massive,
Do we know how much it slows down?
a lot.
That's some big scientific numbers.
Yeah, a lot. It slows down a lot. So when you're going into a black hole, if I were to like chuck one of you into a black hole, it would go incredibly slow to you because you're so close to such a massive object that you would be like extended out. Yeah. And spaghettified is what one scientist has called it.
Spaghettified.
Spaghettified, where you're...
That's if you go legs first, you'll get spaghettified.
Yeah, if you go head first, you're going...
No, if you go like sideways in there, you'll just get like warped into like a rectangle.
elongated.
Yeah.
Yeah. So...
Elongated.
Yeah, so if you're next, like, this has been even tested on, like, a human level where if you're next to, like, the pyramids of Giza, they're really heavy. So time goes slower than if you're, like, in a desert next to nothing that's heavy. Does that make sense? Same with when you're next to a black hole, time goes slower than when you're not next to a black hole.
wait,
It's all
so
relative.
So wait.
measurable.
You're saying
measurable.
You can measure time going slower.
Yes, you can.
Next to the
to
pyramids.
If you
objects
have-
with mass.
Next to very heavy objects with mass. If you have, like, specialized enough tools, yeah. Like, I can look at my watch and be like...
Shit.
Yeah,
dude.
So
shit.
you're
that's not
saying the
slower.
pyramids of Giza being next to you
Are large
Yeah.
enough to slow time.
Yeah,
All right.
100%.
I have not enough information to refute this.
Well, if you think about it, that is something that you've heard about black holes, right?
Well,
Yeah.
Because it's
Yeah.
massive. So obviously it's to a smaller degree, but it's not like the rules change when you're
I
next to
learned this
something
from
less massive.
Interstellar.
Yeah, exactly. So it
that
is
would
like
be enough.
Interstellar. That was the next point I wanted to bring up, was talking further about time dilation. Time dilates also relative to speed. So if I hopped in a train going the speed of light and made like I traveled for a year in my time speed of light time, to you guys that might be like 80 years. Because I'm going faster.
Wait, really?
Yeah, that's true. It's also in the book Ender's Game. I actually think it was in the book Speaker for the Dead.
So if if
I'm traveling near the speed of light, time is actually going slower for me.
We have not achieved light speed in any object, right?
No, this is all theoretical.
Okay,
Yeah, this is all super theoretical. I think we've achieved like
we've broken the sound barrier,
but also like
times.
percentages of light speed. Also, like the speed at which like the International Space Station travels. Like if me and you were twins, and I went on the International Space Station for like a year, and I was born like 10 seconds before you, like you're technically now older than me.
Do you know how long they'd have to stay on
because
space
you were
station to
farther
achieve
away.
Because I was going like significantly faster than you. Because you know how like it's traveling at like 40,000 miles per hour.
Yeah.
Like that's not a lot compared to the speed of light. But like traveling any speed changes the way time travels.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so that's time dilation in the theory of relativity. And the theory of relativity is important when you're factoring in things like GPS systems and stuff like that, because things aren't always where they appear to be, kind of thing. You have to like,
we would assume they would.
Yeah, you have to like weigh in like the mass and the speed at which like the Earth travels and things like that. So it all has to do like with like very complex calculations that I have no way of knowing.
So you're saying even though it's 11:17 here, and in 5 minutes it'll be 11:22 here, the person who is on the International Space Station will have a different subjective experience of the next 5 minutes.
So that's important, is like subjective experience.
Yeah.
Because like time, like setting a time like a clock is something we've all agreed upon, right?
Yeah.
But as far as like if that person is getting older or younger, faster or slower than you, like that's the time that they are experiencing.
Mm-hmm.
So they're experiencing time slower than we are because they're going significantly faster than us.
Mm.
That's also the weird thing with speed of light, is like light always goes the same speed no matter what. Like say we were traveling at 1,000 miles an hour and then I shot a bullet, that bullet would be going 1,000 miles per hour plus the speed at which I shot the bullet, right?
I actually don't think that's true.
I think
That's not true. Say that exact thing one more time.
Okay.
So you're saying you're traveling at 1,000 miles an hour,
Yeah.
and you're on while you're traveling that fast, you shoot a bullet off of that.
Exactly.
It's traveling.
Shoot a bullet forward, it's going like bullet speed plus the speed I'm going.
That makes sense.
I don't think that's
Because it has the momentum you're already
if you're
going.
traveling 60 miles an hour in a car and you throw a baseball 60 miles an
in
hour.
a vacuum. Because that you're talking like wind. Like if you throw a baseball, it's going to go backwards.
I would say the bullet's even the same, because at 1,000 miles per hour, there's already a lot of wind resistance.
But I would say, okay, I should have said in a vacuum.
Yes.
In a vacuum.
Okay.
Taking out like
different.
wind resistance as a factor.
That
like
could be.
I think it's something that like it's
I could
more
buy
applied
that.
to like in space as a vacuum without wind resistance. If you're going
So
1,000,
technically, if you were on the space shuttle, you had a way you could reach out of the top of it, and you're going almost like, we'll just say 1,000 miles an hour.
let's say like
straight
Star
up.
Wars, like you're traveling in whatever
the Star Destroyer.
Yeah, so you're traveling 100,000 miles and you shoot a laser.
Millennium
That
Falcon.
laser-
Why is
Millennium
this
Falcon.
Star Destroyer? That's the first thing that comes to mind.
Yeah, so
there?
if they shoot a torpedo,
the
it's
fuck
going the speed of the Millennium Falcon plus the speed of the torpedo they just shot. That torpedo's now going. Versus if they
Yeah.
shined a light out from the front of it, it's going 186,000 miles per hour no matter what. That's very important to this theory, is that speed of light is fixed. Because if there wasn't something fixed to judge it off of, you could never compare anything. The fixed unit in the theory of relativity is the speed of light.
Okay.
Okay.
Well,
All right, you got one more minute.
All right. Do you guys have any questions? Do you want to know anything about the speed of light?
because to me,
I know a lot about this stuff.
This seems like something that they tested on MythBusters that actually disproves what you're saying.
The theory
No,
of
that
relativity.
disproves
They
the theory of
tested.
relativity,
They
doubt it.
disproved the
Not
theory
no
of relativity on
no.
MythBusters.
I think it disproves what you just said about if you're traveling. Even let's take away
John,
let's
John
take,
said in a vacuum.
In a vacuum.
They did not test that in a vacuum.
I doubt it. They might have, but I doubt it.
they did not.
They
Yeah.
didn't. So,
But what they were testing would not have been affected in the absolute insane way that would have to be for it to be in a vacuum. I think something.
It was also in Futurama. If you guys remember correctly, they were traveling in the Futurama mail delivery ship, and they shot Bender out while they were going really fast, and that's how Bender became a god.
okay, so
because
you
they
have
couldn't catch up
you have
with Bender.
15 seconds left. Summarize the theory of relativity.
Theory of relativity, everything's relative. Some things are fast that don't feel fast, and some things are slow that don't feel slow. And mass and gravity and light and space and time are all connected.
All right, that's 10 minutes.
I think that's good. I mean, The one thing I would have said as a way to make people understand it is if you're driving in a car, you're going 100 miles an hour, you toss a baseball in your hand straight up and straight back down, and you catch it again. Technically, that ball was also traveling at whatever speed the car was traveling.
That's
Exactly.
What he was saying.
That's what I was saying.
That's what he was saying.
But you just
So
have to
it
take
goes-
wind resistance, because if I
wind
threw a ball
resistance,
up, it
yeah.
would go backwards,
Mm-hmm.
because the wind would push against it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel you.
But in a vacuum, exactly that.
In a vacuum, yeah, you could throw it up and catch it.
Shout out to Einstein, baby.
Yeah, way to go, Einstein.
That's silly goose.
Yeah, that's silly goose.
And we had the first major confirmation of theory of relativity less than 5 years ago, I believe.
Gravitational waves.
Yes, thank you. Yes, gravitational waves have been able to be mapped, and they have a kind of a grid, a 3-dimensional grid, showing you the basically the first observable proof of the theory of relativity.
Cool.
So fuck yeah.
Yeah, fuck yeah, man. He was right.
He was right.
He was
Shout
also
out.
a patent clerk. So just think about how many incredibly smart people are toiling away in meaningless jobs because they have to pay for their survival.
And also, Einstein described himself as a form of socialist who thought that we needed to endow all people with the ability to achieve the heights that he had.
True. True.
Shout out.
And also fuck the Nazis, because he came over and helped us build an atomic bomb.
Yeah.
So fuck you guys. Jews are real smart. Fuck Nazis.
Fuck Nazis. I think I might call this the Fuck Nazis podcast.
Yeah.
But yeah. That's
Cool, Nick.
that's it. Shout out.
Second
got
episode
one?
of our game. Nick's going to go next time. What up?
It's my turn after this. I'm
All right.
ready.
Yeah, John got fairly lucky here because we don't
Fuck
know
you,
for
dude. You got singularity. I wouldn't even have to research singularity. I could ramble about that for 10 minutes.
I'm not saying topic.
Easy.
Topic, whatever. We'll leave that alone. But we don't know when we're gonna release this.
Yeah.
Or if we ever will.
It's in the Disney Vault.
So mine will be released tomorrow.
Guys, we
but-
should, put this audio file on a USB and
put it in a safe.
no, send it to Disney and ask them if they can put this in the vault.
It costs a fucking suck a dick. They don't actually have a vault.
I imagine the response from their PR team would have to be funny.
Oh, yeah.
Be like, hey, we recorded this. We don't want anyone to see it for now. Do you mind putting this in the vault for us?
like we couldn't just keep it on one of our computers. They'll read it and just be like, what the fuck?
But have you seen those people who apply to be an astronaut by including a picture of themselves doing a pull-up, and they're like, I think I have a lot to contribute to the space program.
I've seen a couple of those.
right?
It would at least warrant a response.
Yeah.
No, yeah.
It
There was a guy who did a full application or a full resume and sent it to NASA. and it
They're
was
taking applications.
So
We should all apply.
funny.
They're doing it right now.
Yeah, it's mid-March. They're taking applications. We should all apply to be astronauts.
I'd be so down.
I think
You have to have a master's degree in
the School of Hard
in a
Knocks.
certain STEM field. It has to be a STEM field, and you have to have a master's degree.
Really? My sociology degree won't get me there?
right?
Fuck,
man. It's not
God
cool.
damn it. All right, fine.
What if I was really good at flying?
Fine, I'll fucking go to grad
I'd be
school.
so good at
fine.
putting a space helmet on.
Yeah,
guys.
you guys don't even know.
Like,
I don't know if my giant balls would fit in that spacesuit with how much I'm willing to fly outside and do shit to the outside of that spacecraft.
You stipulate that. You're like, you know what? I think it'd be great, but you know what?
I need
I
an
can talk
extra
about my
long-
weaknesses.
Yeah.
You know, I'm an honest man at heart. I don't think you guys have a
Right.
spacesuit
Spacesuit.
with the ball capacity.
I might not be smart. I might not be physically fit, but I got massive balls. Let's go.
So if you guys design one, just 2 basketballs up front.
Randy Marsh wheelbarrow.
We figure that out. Maybe a space wheelbarrow.
Oh, God.
So
All right, Nick, let's hear it.
I think it's my turn. And
Send us.
last week, I guess a week ago from when we're recording this,
At some point.
at
some
some
point
point in the discography of Slightly Informed,
first time.
McLean did a segment called Florida Man.
Yeah.
Now, Florida Man's a great segment. Florida has some of the
Yeah, it
best
is.
stories in the
Don't you
world.
ever say it isn't.
And
Do
those
you know
are,
why?
Why is this?
Okay, so Florida has a thing. I think they're called the Sunshine Laws, where all arrest records, all of that is public information.
Public domain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like most other states, that's like private until you get convicted and stuff like that.
Not
Anything
in
that
Florida.
happens in Florida, yeah. So that's how the Florida.
Whatever the police report says,
yeah,
it's
exactly.
going on the
It's
news.
going on the record. Yeah. So they get like Florida man beats the shit out of 19 cops while tripping balls on LSD and meth. Like it's always Florida man because they have those laws. Like I'm sure it happens
That's
on
a
Montana
combo.
too. Yeah.
That's a combo.
I'm sure it's
better
happened.
than any other.
The
combo.
greatest Florida man of all time, I think, was not a man. It was a goat. Or no, not a goat. It was a pig who drank, 18 beers and then fought a pig? Or fought a cow. Fought a cow. It was a pig,
Florida.
drank 18, raided a campfire, stole 18 beers,
We'll
drank
do
them.
a slightly educational about how much animals like to get boozed up because that's actually like a real phenomenon.
That's a fun one.
Yeah, there was like a moose in Alaska who would get drunk and just fuck shit up around town.
That's so
I've heard
great.
stories.
Yeah.
I won't say who told me this story, but I heard a story once of this was also in the 70s, but
Dating
they
yourself, McLean.
what?
You're dating yourself.
Yeah, this was in the 70s.
Back in my day.
Back in my day. No, they entered a drinking contest, and the contest rules didn't stipulate if you had to be human. So they they took a cow, and the cow beat everyone, and they won. They won like $1,000, and it was like this big
Fuck.
thing. Yeah.
I'm sorry. As someone who loves loopholes,
I love loopholes. That's my
the
favorite.
fact
shit.
that someone found that loophole makes me
They just fed like 30 beers
a little
to a
upset.
cow, and the
Yeah.
cow was like not even phased. I guess like
Probably
the
not,
cow was like
800-pound cow.
maybe stumbling a bit, but they like everyone else just like passed the fuck out drinking that many beers.
Yeah.
But the cow was fine, and they won $1,000.
chilling.
And they all went drinking.
All right, continue us, Nick. Sorry for
So-
the interruption.
No, I decided.
That was a contribution.
Yeah.
That wasn't an interruption.
I
We
said
interrupted in a positive manner.
it was constructive,
Yeah.
but
Constructive
I think
Constructoruption.
That was dumb.
I would say that Florida man is the yang in Chinese culture, and I think that the yin is also has its own downsides.
Yeah.
Because I think the two most far ends of the spectrum of depraved to pious goes from a scale of Florida to Utah.
I can agree with that.
So on Florida, on one end, you got the depravity, you got the spring break, you got the people tweaking out and doing crazy shit all over the news,
Shit ton of old people.
and just a shit ton of old people to be the victims of these Florida man news stories. The other end is Utah, where the people themselves maybe not have quite as impressive of feats as the Florida man itself, but it's made up for by the police officers, the state government,
Legislature.
the legislature, the governor,
Yeah.
teachers, principals, your
The
mayor,
powerful religious lobby.
yeah, like the million things that Utah has shit going on crazy on. So this one is called Behind the Zion Curtain. And for those not in the Western United States that don't understand that reference, essentially the Zion Curtain is the idea that we live under completely different laws when you're in Utah, behind the curtain of protection by the Mormon Church.
Yeah.
So in this episode of Behind the Zion Curtain, I'm going to run you through a couple stories real quick, starting out with a cyclist claims Utah officer mistook a wave for middle finger and hit him with his car.
What?
So, yeah.
What? You can't even do that if it was a middle finger.
Yeah.
Like,
The Supreme Court ruled you can flip them off.
Yeah,
So,
You
yeah.
can flip them off. You can cuss them out. You can
Yeah,
do
you
whatever
can do whatever you want. Yeah.
Freedom
there's-
of speech, bitch. 1A. 1A.
So, according to the lawsuit, the guy named Chad, unfortunately, Chad
Righteous Chad.
switched from the south side of Evergreen to the north side with the intent of riding through the green light ahead of him at 2300 East. And riding on a bike path on the north side of the road, Chad rode through a crosswalk area for pedestrians, proceeded through the intersection safely. The Unified Police stopped him at what appeared to be a red light, appearing to be waiting for Chad to cross, and waved at him. The lawsuit states that Lockwood, the biker, waved back, but because of a prior accident that left him with a deformed hand, Lockwood contends the officer mistook his wave for an obscene gesture.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Why would you wave back though? If someone's waving you through an intersection and you just like,
say,
hey, how's it going,
how are you
officer?
doing?
Yeah, that's so.
So yeah,
That's Utah.
You
too.
reap what you sow.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks, man.
Next story.
I guess that's true because the thanks is usually just a hand up.
Yeah.
So if you like had a fucked
Real
up hand or
quickly,
something,
yeah. That could be. Utah cops may soon face discipline for sexting and masturbation on duty.
May soon face.
Soon. They don't already face it. They may soon face.
What you
discipline.
doing over there, Terry? Just jerking it.
You guys remember Super Troopers? He's looking at the billboard with the girl and he's like radar gunning him jerking off. That happened in Utah.
Oh, God.
All right. Another good one. Utah woman pleads guilty to lewdness for being topless in her own home.
What?
That's crazy.
Yeah.
With like the windows open and someone saw her? Like, what's this story?
Even if it was.
I'd still fight that in court.
Like,
I definitely would. I mean,
It's
even
my
if you're on your own
property.
property, you
Yeah.
can walk around in your
okay,
backyard.
but what if you were just
naked.
like front of your house, like front bay windows, you're just standing there,
just
like
standing there,
like
hanging dong.
yeah, exactly, yeah, just waving to your neighbors, like.
Technically, I still would fight that. I really would. I mean, you're in your own
I would too.
fucking
I would never press like. I would
It
never
makes
call
sense.
the cops. Be like,
the reason I asked
"Hey,
that question is just for some more insight.
I
But
saw my neighbor Steve's dick. Can you guys come arrest him? Oh man, it had to be a woman who reported her.
Oh, for sure. For
It had
sure.
to
I
be.
can guarantee. Oh, my God. There's like no
some
way.
guy calls the cops. I saw some daddy.
Yeah,
I don't know. It is Utah. You
It
never
is Utah.
know.
It could be a
that's
guy.
true.
Yeah.
It could be. Oh, that's so depressing to think about.
Now, this one's a double decker here. This one's got.
Ooh.
This one hits you twice. So I'm going to read it in two
ready.
parts. Utah Senate rejects anti-masturbation amendment
Okay.
to oppose or to proposed abortion ban.
What?
So this was
So,
an amendment.
How
to
are
the
those
idea-
ideas connected?
The,
This was an amendment, and they slapped on an anti. Oh my God!
my amendment, what it does is to make sure that men play a part and are accountable for their actions as well.
Is his argument we shouldn't ban jerking it because then they might not want to do it?
No,
Like, I don't,
the
But
argument
this is so
that we
Utah
should ban.
saying that
we should
only
ban
men
jerking-
masturbate. This
because-
is so Utah.
I thought it said
If we're go-
opposed male masturbation law.
No, Utah Senate rejects the anti. So I mean, it got rejected, but someone proposed an anti-masturbation amendment
And cited
to a bill that was being
That's hilarious.
passed to ban abortion. Because basically,
Double
a
whammy.
feminist saw the banning of abortion going on and decided
Oh,
that
to
the
amend it that if you can do this to
yeah.
women's bodies, we can tell you you're not allowed to jerk it. Yeah,
Exactly. That was her thing. Was like,
that's smart.
yeah. What if I tie the idea of abortion to the idea of masturbation?
The idea of jerking it,
So yeah, that's one more, and I saved
the best for last.
the best for last.
Oh God, I don't even want to hear it.
It's funny.
Utah screws with me.
Sex outside of marriage may soon be legal in Utah.
No.
It was illegal.
It's still legal right now. It's on the state record
my
books.
God.
The law is called.
Oh God!
It's a misdemeanor crime called fornication.
Damn.
Yeah.
How many misdemeanors do you have to make it a felony? Like, might be a felon in Utah.
Oh God.
That's funny.
God.
And wait. There were some really good quotes on this as well. So I do want to go over this one real quick as well.
Oh shit! I have been in Utah and had sex in Utah, so I have created.
You fornicated.
yeah.
I fornicated.
Fornicated out of that
in the
sanctity of
state of
marriage.
Utah.
I'm expecting my arrest warrant very soon.
Yeah, it's coming.
But what is legally?
I wish. Okay. Like, is it? Would you be arrested for like intention to fornicate? Like, if you went up to a cop and was like, "I'm gonna fuck my girlfriend, officer," like, I got
intent to distribute.
you mad? You pissed, dog? You pissed? Oh God.
So this is the quote from State Representative Kevin Stratton, Republican from Utah. He says, "What is legally is often far below what is morally right." And then he said, "And I recognize our laws are not
argue the exact opposite."
and I recognize our laws are not strong enough to rule an immoral people."
Oh my god.
So basically, he was admitting that the law would get
can't
nothing
legislate
done.
against this,
He was like, "Yeah,
but-
cops cannot do anything to
It's the
to
principle
do
of
that."
it.
But he's like, "But it's because they're immoral and will never be moral."
Oh no.
Yeah, that's wild.
So yeah, shout out to my home state, home away from home. This segment made me a little homesick, you know. I miss being seen as the most depraved lunatic, sex fiend.
I mean, it's not like that's the great thing
Drug
about Utah,
addict,
you know, like
alcohol.
Sex is already a high, but when you have sex, you're like, I'm breaking the law too. You're just like, oh yes, such a high.
Dude, even harder.
It's like we're in Colorado. Weed
Tell me I'm a bad boy.
weed use for teenagers went down after they legalized it because like it's not even fucking cool
not
anymore,
even
dude.
fun, man.
This isn't even cool. Let's
Well,
do
I
some
didn't
cocaine
wanna
and
have
spray
sex.
paint someone's fucking business, dude.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh god. Do we have
Teen pregnancy
we have a
rate
chaser
drops.
this week, right, Nick?
we, I believe we do. Oh shit! Was it the thing you were gonna send me?
Did I not send it?
Let
I
me
thought
check.
I did.
It's in the circle.
Oh, we do have it. Oh, you're right. I'm gonna cut all that out. So this week's chaser is brought to you by Reddit.com, as usual.
.com.
And
It's a
let's
great
get it
video.
going. Yeah, this one is just total
a
nonsense.
quick-
Give it
So
backstory if
funny.
you're just listening. This is just a dude standing out. Someone's like sitting passenger, and he's got the door open. He's just standing outside,
He's an Asian man
giving an impression.
holding his eyes further wide open to give an American impression.
Hey, Bobby, look, I'm American. I think I'll use my credit card. Do you guys have anything non-dairy? Anything gluten-free?
I
Oh,
think I'll use my credit card.
You guys have anything non-dairy?
that's actually like a pretty good impression.
That
I
is
don't know.
really
it's
good.
not stupid. Is using a credit card like super American? Like,
I have no idea. I haven't traveled
I-
enough globally. I thought it was pretty well used.
like
everywhere.
everything else he said, like, yeah, okay, I can get on board with that. But like, I'm gonna use my credit card. Don't
Yeah.
most people use credit cards?
Right?
I don't know.
Who knows?
But cool, guys. Well, I
Alrighty,
think
guys.
that wraps it up.
Hit us
Well,
up.
Check us out. Spotify, Apple, Google, YouTube, Twitter.
I'm on Twitter now.
John Arterburn on
At
Twitter.
John Arterburn. Hit me
At
up.
SI_podcasts. At A Pub Divided.
Yeah, I haven't used that one yet, but I will.
You want to shout out yours, McLean?
Not really.
At McLean Autry.
Oh, thanks, buddy.
Oh my god, no. Oh my god, no!
Yeah.
No! Did you hear the best part though? He said he's not the only penis man.
Florida man arrested for pulling gun on escort. She was touching everything in my house but my dick.